Welcome everyone to Faith IQ, the podcast. This is our second episode, and we were really excited to start with Jimmy Walker because I actually have a Jimmy Walker story to introduce our next guest. I met Shari Rowe in, I want to say, May of 2018, you and your husband, correct?
That's right. Yes.
And we were meeting and we were talking. I apologize. Your husband's name is
Heaven.
Kevin. I thought so. I didn't want to be wrong though. The last thing I
You're
want to do
right.
is call someone by the wrong name.
You're
So
right.
like, you, I, and Kevin met, and we talked about how we could potentially work together. And we ended up, I don't think working together in particular, but I invited you up to a little office gathering we had for the launch of Med Health IQ.
Yes.
That was what, 7 years ago
It's
or
crazy.
thereabouts. I'm terrible about math,
Wow.
and it's actually starting to come together because that Med Health IQ did not move forward. But as it pertains to you, Jimmy surprised me by being at that reception. I did not expect him to come. I invited a bunch of people. I think we had 15 people show up. You and Kevin came up, and Jimmy and Jimmy Fashion said what to you?
He said, "Oh, you're a country singer." He said, "Do you know Reba?" And I said, "No, but I'd like to." And he said, "I think we can make that happen." And then he said, "Why don't you sing something?"
So, did you end up meeting Reba? I need to know the rest of the story
Yes.
here. I think I know
Yes.
the answer, but go ahead.
We
What transpired from that?
oh my goodness. Well, a lot transpired when after that. I mean, knowing Jimmy, I mean, if you know Jimmy, things are going to transpire. If you align yourself with what Jimmy is doing, I mean, things will happen. That's just because he gets things done, you know. And actually, my first encounter working alongside Jimmy was at St. Vincent de Paul. That was one of the first things after that meeting that day. We connected, shared our contact info, and he asked me if I could come down with the band and sing for the homeless and everyone that was getting served at St. Vincent de Paul, and we did that.
And about how many people was that? How many? Because I've been there before, but
Oh
our
gosh, I feel like
listeners don't know.
at least a couple hundred, I would say. You know, it was a morning. The dining hall was I would say two-thirds of the way full. There were a lot of people. Um, but it was just such a blessing to watch Jimmy be Jimmy and to see how he reaches the community and how he uses his influence for so much good. And he and I don't know, he just has such a warm personality. We hit it off right away. The band loved him. I mean, we've since done several events down there. And it was just a few months after that that Jimmy invited us to join him in Las Vegas for Reba's show with Brooks and Dunn, and that's where we met
Oh,
Reba.
wow.
Hmm.
Very cool. So you went as his guest to that concert.
Yep, and we met
I
her.
imagine you weren't in the nosebleed seats, were you?
No, no, we were front and center. It was great. It was, you know, it was great meeting her. And of course, because of my connections with Jimmy, I went on to meet her again at Celebrity Fight Night, and that was
No,
like
no, you didn't meet her at Celebrity Fight Night. Didn't you perform at Celebrity Fight Night?
I
I was
did.
there, I think.
I did
Which
perform.
I think your first call to me was, Michael, will you buy a table for $15,000? I said, I'll tell other people about buying a table, but I think I ended up, you invited me as a guest, which was very
I
nice of
did.
you, very kind of you.
I did. Yeah. And it's been really great the way you and our paths have crossed ever since that first meeting. And it's so great seeing how what you're doing is coming to life and flourishing in so many different ways. And I don't know, it's been really cool kind of to see each other's journeys. And performing at Celebrity Fight Night, that was something I could have never imagined. And I think really that's the way God does things. He connects people, and I think we always have to kind of be ready and looking for the doors that he opens. And Celebrity Fight Night performing, I did Night Ride, and it was release weekend for my new single. And I
Right?
had David Foster's band backing me, and I just like it was a pinch me moment for sure. It was great.
Well, Sherry, you were actually supposed to be our first guest on this podcast. I think I told you that even. Arnie Fonseca. Do you know Arnie? I don't know how you know Arnie, but Arnie Fonseca, who
Uh-huh.
is my life coach and does training for people 50 and up that have joint pain, like bone on bone, or I have
Wow.
arthritis in my knees.
Hmm.
Now listeners know I'm old and crippled, so but anyhow,
Mm.
he's actually helped me tremendously and saved me a lot of medical bills by just a few
Wow.
simple exercises, and Lifetime
Amazing.
Fitness helps me the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But how do you know Arnie? Do you know Arnie?
I've met him through Jimmy Walker events, but I don't know him. I don't know him personally, but yeah,
Okay. He's happy to help behind the scenes. He's very humble, just like Jimmy is.
that's
And it's
amazing.
Jimmy's humility that really blows me away.
Oh,
Um, I need to ask some questions about your career, though, because I'm part Polish.
oh,
I
you are?
tell people I'm part Prussian because it's really from Prussia that my ancestors came from,
Oh,
but
same,
is
actually.
part of Poland.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
So
same.
is that why you really get out of here? That's
It's
awesome.
crazy.
So anyhow, is that why you have a Polish following? I mean, I it's kind of bizarre. I read your bio this morning,
Yeah,
and of course I knew a lot of this stuff, but I was like, you perform in Poland, and Kevin said something last night about the money from Poland coming for a concert.
right.
Tell me about that relationship and how that started.
Oh my goodness. So it's very interesting. I don't believe anything is coincidence, but this sounds like a typical scenario where like, what are the odds? But so my grandparents were born and raised in Poland. I didn't ever get a chance to meet them. Unfortunately, they died when my mom was young, and my mom had me late in life. So I didn't even really know her brothers and sisters. She had 10 brothers and sisters, and she was the youngest. But the Polish traditions are very, very strong in our family. I mean, I still make pierogi and stuffed cabbage and all of that. I mean, we,
And when am I being invited over for that dinner?
I know, I gotta make you some pierogi. Yeah. So that's very important to our family. And I feel like because my mom lost her parents at such a young age, I've always felt like I wanted to do that for her too. I wanted her to see that I was going to carry on some of the traditions she was raised with and keep her culture alive in our family, and just continue to tell her that we're not going to forget. And then, okay, fast forward to, gosh, I guess it was 2008. I met a man by the name of Richard Dietrich. And Richard was a youth pastor in Minnesota who now lives in Arizona. And he, during his time being a youth pastor, would find young musicians who were looking to serve. And he said, in the church, we have a lot of opportunities to serve in different ways and go on these trips. And whether it's digging wells or building homes or serving the homeless, there are countless ways we can help around the world. But there didn't really seem to be a niche for people whose gift was music outside of leading a worship set. And so he found these young musicians who were Christians, but they weren't necessarily always playing Christian music. They were just playing music about life. And he found this idea. He started forming these bands and sending these kids and young adults on these missions trips overseas to play music. And they would play it not only in churches, but in bars and pubs and prisons and high schools and um, really just be themselves and really instill in them the truth that we can shine the light of Christ wherever we are. I mean, we always tell people, and we hear it on Sunday mornings, that we're not just shining the light of Christ when we're in a church setting. We should be doing it in our 9 to 5, and we can comprehend that, but we really haven't told musicians that like you can be the light of Christ. You don't in the church, you don't only have to play Christian music. When you go to do your quote unquote day job, you are representing Christ in your faith. And so he started these trips. Now fast forward even further, and I'm giving you the very condensed version of this story because it is unbelievable at every turn. So I'm just gonna fast forward.
I love it.
Richard's wife is of Polish descent. So they went to Poland on a trip. And Richard decided he wanted to get the family crest. So he went to the office where you would get such a thing and he explained the family, the names, the lineage, and they kept coming out to confirm what he was saying and ask more questions. And towards the end of the day, they finally came out, and it turns out that Richard's wife, Brenda, is the long lost connection. She is the royal family, and the line was
Get
lost
out of here.
for real. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's
technically,
amazing.
they are the Count and Countess of Prussia. So
Get
now,
out of here. That's so
Hungarians,
cool.
yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah. So you can imagine how they must have felt hearing that news. And Richard is the type of guy, I mean, he does not like the limelight. He does not want to speak in front of
Right.
people. He does not like, he was, and Richard's
I'd be
wife,
holding a parade. There would be
yeah,
a day
I
in
know,
honor of
right?
me.
Right. So Richard's wife, Brenda, really didn't want to represent that title either. It also turns out that the royal family had a lot of musicians in it. And there's actually a statue in one of the cities in Poland of one of their long lost relatives holding a violin.
Wow.
So now Richard decides, well, they both find out that they have stable houses and castles and all of these things that were just scooped up by the state when they couldn't find any of the family. So now they offer all these things. Now they have all these extravagant homes and castles. And so Richard, in a very rich,
When is the tour that we go and I
I
can maybe
know.
be a roadie? Is that what they're called?
Oh
Roadie?
my
I can help
gosh,
it move some
yes.
stuff around.
Yeah, I
Seriously.
know.
My
These
grandmother always said I need to marry a Polish girl. So here's our
Yeah,
chance.
you definitely need to see Poland. It is beautiful. So now Richard, at being Richard, they decide that they're going to give all of these extravagant castles and stable homes and everything back to Poland as a gesture of kindness and love and the love of God. And so now he is not a wealthy man. They're not wealthy, but they use this platform and they have great influence. So when we've gone over there in the past, we've done concerts for mayors, we've done concerts for
Wow.
bishops very high up in the Catholic Church. But we've also played in the Blue Note in Poznan, which is a jazz club, and every major jazz player has played in that club, and it's in the basement of a castle. And
That's so cool.
we played at high schools, and so it really has become, for me, I mean, that's my family's history, that's my heritage. And so I had an immediate connection with the people when I told them, my family's from here. I didn't know them. We embrace the traditions. I know very little Polish, but a little bit. And I fell in love with the country and the people, and they just welcomed me with open arms, and they love country music. So it just kind of makes sense.
Well, I'm going to interject something here. I'm 1/4 English, 1/4 Irish, 1/4 German, 1/4 Polish. So
Amazing.
I see and you may not know this, but back in the late 90s, I worked for a big sports agency called ProServe at the time. They
Okay.
actually work hard and they merged with the company and they rolled up all the concert promoters, bought a bunch of amphitheaters, and became what is today Live Nation.
Oh,
So my
really?
my office mate, Russell Wallach, is president of global sponsorship or marketing for them.
Wow. Wow.
So he and I worked together. We were both VPs at the time, and he stayed on, and I came out here to work with the Harlem Globetrotters. Now, when I
Okay.
was with the sports agency, I knew Manny Jackson, who purchased the Globetrotters because
Wow.
he ran the business unit of Honeywell, where I basically started my career. Talk
Wow.
about life coming full circle.
Oh,
But
man.
the relative thing here is we put together a European tour of the Globetrotters versus NBA All Stars or former All Stars, and included Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So we toured multiple cities throughout Europe,
Oh
and it
my,
was real simple. We went in and worked with the concert promoters, person Richard Adler, who put it together actually,
yeah.
just cut deals with the concert promoters. So I think we do a European tour, and I get to come along and bring someone special if I can.
That sounds fantastic. I love it.
And if I say something like that, I mean we're going to do it. So We'll figure
I'm
out maybe
down.
during the summer months
Yeah,
when it's a little hot here in Arizona. So
absolutely.
speaking about hot, I want you to talk about your latest, single because I think it's amazing. I want you to tell me
You.
a little bit of the backstory and if you have the ability to sing a little bit,
I
I'm putting you
don't
on
know.
the spot.
I don't know if we'll do
I did
that
not
today.
prepare you.
No, I don't know if we'll do that today, but you are talking about last time, right?
Yeah, yes, last
Okay.
time. Last
Okay.
time, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. I want to know the backstory of that.
So last time is actually because I've had a couple come out. So if there's one that you are referring to other than that, then we can totally chat about that too. But last
Full disclosure, I've been to two country music concerts in my life. Toby
okay.
Keith,
Aw,
Toby Keith. I went with my friend Doug Herschel because it sounded like a fun thing to do, and he was great.
sure.
And then this young artist, Shari Rowe, in the
Aw.
city I now live in, Gilbert, Arizona, at Dirk's Bentley.
Oh,
That was the
nice.
only other concert, and that was
Wow.
yours.
Well, welcome. You're officially in the country club. Oh man. Well, last time I wrote with Willie Morrison, and actually it's funny. Some songs you just labor over, and some songs just kind of unfold very quickly. And last time was one of those that just happened fast. We met for a co-write in Nashville, and we had tossed around a few ideas. In co-writes, it really depends on the mood of the people who are writing, just what resonates, what feels right in the room. And we tossed around some serious ideas and a couple other fun ones. And once we started talking about this one of just taking chances and maybe having a little bit of regret, and we just started kind of just making it over the top. And we were literally laughing with each other. Like we were coming up with these lines and just like, oh God, that's crazy, but I love it. And, once we got into the studio, we kind of knew from the beginning that it needed to be kind of a 90s country inspired track and just kind of like, well, when it came out, I had people say it was the oops, I did it again of country music. Cause it's like,
I love that.
it
I
really
love it.
it conveys this really fun, playful, let's take a risk kind of thing. But then, of course, the hook line, that's the last time I do that. And then you almost are left feeling like, but is it?
Uh, do you have a music video for it?
We don't have a music video for that one. It's a good
You need to
idea.
get one.
I think we need one. Yeah.
Well, how about we package the audio version of that somehow with our podcast?
That sounds great.
Can
Yeah,
maybe Kelly can do some fantastic editing and get that
absolutely.
included in there?
Yeah, you could.
And I'm a little bit jealous. Because I think someone made an offer to you back in 2018 to co-write something with you, and
Mhm.
I think you saw my poems and said maybe another time.
Did I say that? Is that really what I said, Michael? I don't
I have a much better. I think I can do a much better job this time. I've kind of experienced a little bit of a country music life in the
Oh
past
my goodness.
year,
Well,
and I've come into an awakening myself. So if I get another shot down the road,
you got it.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, if I didn't say that or whether I did say that, it makes no difference. But if you felt the brush off, I certainly apologize.
I think it was a smart business move from your standpoint, to be candid.
Oh,
Um, I'm going to turn the conversation. I like to turn the conversation a little bit deeper,
sure,
deeper, darker, whatever. I,
sure.
I, you know, I know a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it justice, but if you give a little bit of background to people out there, because candidly, I think they can relate to that life.
yeah,
Um, we've all gone through struggles. I know a lot of people that have dealt with things at a young age they shouldn't have had to deal with.
sure.
If you can talk a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. And with also the premise being that, I think we all have our own set of struggles and our own form of darkness that we carry, whether it's from early on in life or experiences that happen as we get older. Life can throw a lot of challenges our way. And for me, these stories now are really a testimony of what God has done in my life. So I will start by saying that I look at my mom and dad and I know that they did the best they could with what they were handed. And growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. We lived in Maryvale. It's a neighborhood on the west side of Phoenix. And gosh, my dad definitely had some issues with alcohol. And when he drank, he was not a nice person. And I know a lot of us have come close to people who have struggled with addictions and overuse and abuse. And that definitely was the story, off and on. There were times in between with my dad. I remember, going for drives in the far West Valley when there were a lot more orchards and you could smell the orange blossoms and the alfalfa and all the windows were down and my sister and I were in the back seat and he'd be playing Johnny Cash or Patsy Cline or Charlie Pride, and some of the old classic country songs. And life was perfect in those moments. It was like, it was a dreamland for me. And I think I developed my relationship with music early on because both my mom and my dad loved listening to music. Neither were musicians, but my older brother listened to a lot of classic rock. And I just remember music kind of getting me through a lot of tough times. And as I became a young teenager, I became very angry with a lot of different things that were going on in my life and the dysfunction in my family and witnessing abuse and being subject to it and really just not understanding why. And I remember just feeling this very deep sadness. And I would literally go to my brother's house. He had a little bit of acreage and some horses. And on the weekends, I would just get on and I would just take off and I would follow the riverbed or the canal bank. And I literally would write songs to like the rhythm of the hooves on the ground.
Wow.
And I just felt like it was the most beautiful escape. I just felt the most like myself in those moments. And my dad would go on to leave for 10 years. He was gone. We didn't know where he was. And my mom and he stayed married. They didn't separate. My mom ran a childcare business out of our house. And I wish that I hadn't made some of the choices I made because I can see now how much that would have hurt her, and my sister and I kind of went off the rails a bit and I ran away a lot and ran away to other states and started drinking at a very young age and smoking and dabbling in drug use and found myself in crowds that were definitely not enriching my life and leading me down some dark paths. I ended up just hanging out with abusive people. And I guess, you hear so often that sometimes, whether it's modeled to us or whether we're just searching, sometimes when you're wounded for some reason, there's a part of you that's drawn to that. And I don't understand fully all the psychology of that, but that's what it seemed like for me. And I found myself in a very abusive relationship at a young age. And a few things transpired from that were life-changing. And I remember I needed to completely start over. And I left high school at an early age at 15. And I found myself now fast forward at 17 and I needed to get a job. I got a car, I got my GED. And there was part of me, yeah, deep down inside, I thought, I'm still the same person who loved school and loved music and loved nature. And I needed to shake all this off and find out who I was again. And one of those first things that I went to was music. And so I started singing in bars and clubs and wherever I could get in to be like singing in contests and that was a huge part of my life already.
You
And
won some contest along the way, right?
I did. And
What contest did you win? Come on, it's a
gosh, there
proud
was a
achievement.
little bar. This will tell you. I mean, I was still kind of in the neighborhood I was used to. And so it was a little bar by Metro Center. And I went in and I sang and I made it through the first couple rounds and then I made it to the finals of this contest. And there was like a I think it was a recording, like a very small recording deal. Like if you won, you were able to record one song or something like that. And I was so excited that I made it to the finals. And we grew up not really, we didn't understand a relationship with God, with Jesus. You know, I understood a little bit about religion, but I really didn't understand the beautiful, uh, the beautiful relationship that we could have, the personal, intimate, like God knows me and made me and has a plan for me kind of relationship. And little by little, though, God was reaching out to every single person in our family in their own way. And looking at that now, I can see the tapestry being woven together, and I can see how personal God is and how He meets us all in our own state of being, in the with the baggage we carry and the wounds we have, and He finds out what we like. Well, I mean, He made us, you know, He knows what we like. He made us to use the gifts that we have, and it's a personal experience. And little by little, God was doing this in each of our lives and our family. And um, we began to pray for my dad to come home, and we didn't even realize that each other had begun that until we started to talk about it a little bit. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, you want dad to come back too. You've been praying about that. And little by little, we found Christ. And actually, the way I found Christ, I met who would become my husband. I met Kevin at work,
I love
and
that story.
he
Yeah.
wanted to start a band, and I wanted to start a band. And I had sung. I made it to the finals of that contest, and my sister
How
helped
long
me.
have you guys been together?
34 years.
Oh my, wait. Were you 12 when you met him? What's going on there?
Oh,
We're not doing the math on that one.
that's okay. You don't need to do the math. We'll skip the math.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But I was singing in that singing contest, and this was how, you know, and this is how God reached out to me. He knew that I loved music, and my sister had found a relationship with God, and she said, "Oh, you made it to the finals of that contest. I can help you find a song." And she took me to a Christian bookstore, and I was like, "They have stores for Christians." Like it was so foreign. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. It was so far off my grid, and she took me there, and they had so many songs you could pick from, and I started just listening to all of this music that was so full of hope. And I picked a song that was literally about, it was called Strength of My Life, and it was about getting through each day and how heavy life can be. And I decided that was the one, not because of the message, but because I felt like I could deliver that song and I could do it well, and I wanted to win the contest. And so I had no pure motive in choosing that song. It was strictly like, I can pull this off. I think I can do it well. And I sang that song in that bar near Metro Center. And gosh, it was just such a moment. As soon as the music started, the entire room was hushed. It wasn't when I started singing. It wasn't about me. It was about the song, and it was about a moment that God was setting up. So the whole room went from chatter and dishes and all the noises that you would hear to silence. And it was a
Wow.
slow song, and it was a very minor, deep sounding song. And I sang it, and everyone was captivated by the song. And I ended up winning that contest that you're talking about. That was the one. And I won, but the most amazing thing, the most life-changing thing was how people were coming up to me afterwards and through tears asking me where I found the song and what it was about. And I couldn't tell them. I didn't know. I didn't know the gospel. I didn't know what I was doing. And that really is something I go back to over and over in my life when I feel, gosh, you know, can God use me in this? Or I'm about to have this conversation, or I'm about to go meet this person, or even meeting a stranger for the first time and having them tell me their story, and it's really heavy and I don't have the answers. And I just go back to that moment because God used me even when I did not know anything. I didn't have scripture memorized. I was strictly a vessel.
I feel like I'm more of a vessel than ever before.
Mhm.
God's guiding my steps. I couldn't quote a scripture verse if I tried.
Yeah. See,
That's not me. And my most recent girlfriend, who is a absolutely beautiful person inside and out, she's
mhm,
not a believer,
mhm.
but I think that God still uses people whether they're believers or not.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I pray every day is, for that person. And this podcast, I want to make sure it's understood. This podcast is accepting of everyone. God, Jesus is love. God is love.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's loving everyone. I need to wrap this up. I could go on for hours with you.
I know, I
Give
could
me a
too,
goal
sorry.
for Give me a goal for 2024. What's your next dream for 2024?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have a big announcement coming up in a couple weeks that I can't touch on too much, but be looking for a big announcement. I'm teaming up with some people, and it's really gonna change my reach a lot. We've got some big
Right.
things in the works, a lot more shows, a lot more just a lot more in the industry, new music, in new places, and a larger platform and a bigger reach. So, my goals this year, I've been writing. We had some things happen in our family last year that kind of put a halt to some things. We had to reschedule a lot. And it was amazing. As soon as I was able to refocus and come back and say, hey, we're picking this up, everything fell into place and started to grow more than ever. And so I was feeling
Oh,
discouraged. Sometimes we can hit a bump in the road.
okay.
Life throws us curves. But if we just come back to it and we're doing it for the right reasons, and we have the vision and the heart and the faith to believe in ourselves and everyone that's helping us along the way, man, that's what God did in my life. And I'm excited for what's ahead. I've got some big things planned.